drop in and let go of our schedules and agendas and align our voices with the words and the visions for the highest good for people listening in, to have the inspiration and to be galvanized to support the movement and the ever-growing voice and rise of the divine feminine. And so it is.
So it is.
I'm sorry.
I say.
We're already recording, and I do a lot of editing. I am Jan Jorgensen. I am the founder of She Said Talks, and I, of course, invited Anasuya Isaacs to be my co-host. I mean, really, look. So fabulous. And Anahita Joon and Laura George, I saw you launch. So appropriate for the timing for what is happening for our planet, anchored right here in our country. The Women's Congress. Feel the vibration of that. So I have the privilege and joy of making a short introduction of Anahita Joon. First of all, it's such a lovely feminine name, and I understand the origin is Middle Eastern. My whole body went into chills, Anahita, when I saw the picture of you in your hijab. This powerful woman made such an impression upon me when the Congress was introduced recently. So eloquent, so stately, so confident, and now I add massively courageous. She grew up in the Islamic Revolution of Iran. Wars and bombs were the landscape of her childhood. Her mom left when she was 1, and she was required to wear the hijab starting at the age of 3. She spent her early adolescence seeking permission. It goes without saying, she was seeking permission to be authentic, to be herself, for her body to be seen, for her voice to come out, seeking permission. At age 9, a gun was pointed to her head because she exposed her hair. She moved to the US at 14 and still experienced, of course, misogyny in all of its forms and as being a new arrival. But thank goodness that's all over now, and she is here serving us in the most stellar ways. She has a TED Talk. I'll be placing the link in the YouTube information. She is the founder of the She School. She is the founder of Ecstatic Leadership Institute, the creator of the Beautiful Self TM, the She School Sanctuary. She's written the 7 Essential Pillars for Unshakable Self-Love in Challenging Times. And in a moment, I'm going to have her in her own words say what brought her to this doorstep to bring a global group of women together. I keep using that word, galvanize, for our voices to be strong and together as one to shift things. But first, Anasuya. Well, Anahita, you have to say hello after all that. Just say hello.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you, Jan and Anasuya, for having me. And, I appreciate that introduction. Of course, the Women's Congress and the Founding Mothers Movement is Laura's vision. I mean, she's the visionary and the torchbearer behind that. For me, it was just an obvious, oh, great, the magnetic pull and the alignment and the importance of it happening now at this time that we're alive. Yeah, so I'm grateful to be in the conversation with you.
And your presence is so strengthening to the entire platform. So Anasuya will introduce Laura George.
Well, what an honor it is to do so. I mean, this woman is amazing as too small, fantastic as a little better. Phenomenal is more accurate, because the things she has been committed to and has done is astounding. And she's still here. So that means more is coming. So I just thank you so much for your yes, Laura. Thank you so much, Anahita, for your yes. Reverend Laura George, JD, which means has her doctorate in law, is the executive director of the Oracle Institute. So I look forward to hearing more about that, which is an educational charity and think tank that studies the nexus between religion, politics, human rights, and conscious evolution. That's enough to talk to her about, right there, that one line. Because we are so challenged in this country and in the world today with the rise of the need to control people, specifically women, to silence women, to silence women's access to power, and to have people be sheep. Whether that looks like fascism, whether that looks like corporate greed and corruption, it has so many faces. So the fact that you're dealing with the nexus between religion, politics, human rights, and conscious evolution is so timely to have this conversation right now, because the world's on fire. And as Stevie Wonder said in the 70s, and it still is true today, love is in need of love today. Love is in need of love today. And we're it. We are the women who carry that energetic force, that commitment, that embodiment of love. So being silent this is not the time for that. This is the time for us to speak up and speak out in love, with love, for love, to love, which will stop the wars, which I know is one of your big commitments, which will stop the violence, which will stop the hatred and all the, it's worse than shenanigans, all the obstructions to justice and freedom that are taking place all over the world. So I just thank you so much for being here and being one of the people who is so committed to bringing powerful women together to do that, to remind us that we have the power to do something. We have the power. We are the power to course correct. We are the power to say, we're it. This is it. No war, no obstruction, no silencing, no more rape, no more pillaging. Like, no more, not on our watch. So thank you so much for being here. I look forward to all that you're going to share with us today.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here, and we couldn't be talking about anything more important today, because in my opinion, the whole paradigm shift is about getting the Godhead in balance and women on planet Earth fully empowered. That's what we're fighting. That's what's going on.
And that's what's needed.
Laura, tell us a little bit. I almost visited you in the Peace Pentagon. Do you remember that? I'm on my Queen's Caravan Spiritual Walkabout tour. That was me. We almost met. So I've been intrigued by your work and your path so long, and this powerful new platform that you've created. Just tell us a little bit about your path that brought you here.
I'll tell you something funny first. If I had followed my father's path for me, because I was the oldest, no brothers, right? I'd be at the other Pentagon right now. He wanted me to go into the military. It dawned on me about 6 months ago, and I just started laughing. Anyway, what led to the Peace Pentagon is being exceedingly active in the world that's collapsing right now. I was a practicing attorney at a very large law firm, then went in-house with a huge, Fortune 500 company. So I was in that world, navigating it fairly well, but just having basically night terrors. This is not why I came. And I'll add that I had 3 children during those years. So it was a very challenging time in the sense of knowing that I wasn't doing what I came here to do. And then 9/11 happened, and I've met so many people who have said 9/11 was their wake-up call. It was literally like an alarm bell went off inside my head, inside my heart. And in this forum, I'm just going to share, I started getting downloads, and I didn't quite understand what was happening, but these messages were so pure and so refined and so compatible with my belief system that I followed them kind of like a good soldier. So I didn't even know why I was building a Peace Pentagon at first. I didn't know why I was starting the Oracle Institute at first. I didn't know I was doing a lot of these things. But again, the messages were so divine that I had the faith to follow them and completely overturn my life, like before and after Laura George. So right now I am at the tip of the Bible Belt. I was also led here too. We started in Northern Virginia, which is exceedingly cosmopolitan, and moved down here also based on divine guidance. And I now know why. You know, in the yin yang, that line in between, they wanted me here. They wanted this project here. They wanted the Peace Pentagon here. It's rests above the New River, which is the oldest river in the Western Hemisphere. And some people think it's the oldest river in the world because the Appalachian Mountains are the oldest region. And it is beyond sacred. It is pristine, very untouched, very undeveloped where I am, which is, you know, a double-edged sword for getting people here for retreats and events. But once here, it's like entering a totally different dimension. And I now realize we're in the DMZ. We're in this sort of area that separates or is in the middle of separation between the polarization that's taking place right now. And so I think that's why I needed to be here. I live in MAGA, in the MAGA world where I am, and feel an affinity for the pain these people have been experiencing, the neglect they've been experiencing. Of course, I'm mightily disturbed by the misinformation that they've consumed. And part of Oracle's mission is to assist them in realizing that they're being duped by the dark. But it's a difficult mission. And so, yeah, we started interfaith, but then pretty quickly moved into serious peace building. And then, of course, since we've got a coup on our hands, we're just totally all in on making sure the paradigm shift goes the way we want it, because they don't always go in an evolutionary trajectory. I have to remind my New Age friends constantly, guess what happened the last time we had a paradigm shift of this magnitude, right? Rome collapsed and we went into the Dark Ages in Christendom. And thank God the Muslims kept, while the Christians are burning the books in Alexandria, the Muslims, thank God, were preserving, you know, everything we had up to date in terms of mathematics and history and medicine and architecture. So yeah, the shift could go that way. And right now, Team Dark's winning. We need to wake up to that too, people. Team Dark is winning right now.
Ooh,
Thank
that's a word
God
right
that you said that you were listening and you were hearing, and now you're responding and taking action. Through us and our voices, divine order will come, but only if we expand our frequency field and our voices and come together in non-competitive ways. I love what you just said. It's what women need to hear. The answers are not going to come from this dimension. And Anahita, tell us about what transformed you into this massive leader of light, considering where you came from.
I mean, that's such a high compliment. I don't know if I'm worthy of that, but you know, it's interesting because as I was sitting here listening to Laura, a part of me was wondering, well, you know, it feels really good to align with the Women's Congress and the Founding Mothers movement, but it hasn't really felt mine, you know, to kind of come and say like, oh, the end to war, you know, until to just kind of be invited in. And I could even track as I was sitting here, oh, like, yeah, that wouldn't have felt good in my body. You know, I wouldn't have had the capacity for that, or that's just, you know, that's like way too big of an ask with the memories and the imprints of actually growing up in the war versus having someone who has a commitment and a vision kind of holding it and creating it and then saying, oh, hey, come, and then feeling the alignment and being able to just lean in to that nervous system that hasn't had to kind of do all the things that my nervous system has had to do, you know? So I mean, it's ultimately it's just been wanting to be free and then wanting to pass that on. And kind of like Laura was saying, it's not always, I haven't always felt like, I mean, I chose, right? We choose, but it hasn't always been that, I was choosing. It was more like, here, here, do this, here, be this, here, serve in this way. And it's funny, Laura, because when you talked about 9/11, it's so interesting. As you said that, I realized exactly the time that I started receiving the downloads around, it was right after 9/11. That is the time that I was going through my dark night of the soul, where the downloads were happening around the oppression of the feminine, the oppression of sexuality through religious text, and the control of women, and the oppression of the feminine, like big picture. It was exactly at that same time. So as you were saying that, I was having that awareness, which I was like, oh, I didn't. But when that happened, when 9/11 happened, oh my goodness, I didn't even know I was going to share this with you all. But at that time, the stuff that I didn't even know was in my body started to come back up. So every time I live near the airport in LAX, and after 9/11 happened, every time a plane would go over, I would go, because in my body was the memory of, you hear a plane and it goes boom. And, so it all came back up. So I'm grateful that there are people that don't have all of that. And I've worked out a lot of it, yeah, I've got to sit with a lot of good somatic therapists and done a lot of healing work and lots of shamans and all the things. So the system's pretty clear now, but I'm grateful to also just lean in with people that have, a different nervous system for it. And, I'm also really, I gave a TEDx talk, and if I had to give it again, I would give it differently. I would definitely give it less from a standpoint of us versus them, less from the patriarchy is outside of me, and really owning, I feel like it's really essential for myself and everyone that we continue to own our power without guilt and shame, like to really feel the complicity that is, the fear with which we observe, the separation with which we observe. If we can actually come into our own inner wholeness as we observe, maybe we don't have to be so complicit to these things that we really don't like. So that's where I'm at. That's what I'm interested in, is just continuing to, oh, this is happening. I don't like this, yet it's happening on my watch. So what's the lens through which that I am observing this, and how can I shift myself as the observer to create something different? So
That's the shift right there.
That is the shift we all need to take.
Be the creator with divine guidance.
Right.
Yeah.
And together.
Thank you so much, Anahita. That is so timely. And it makes me wonder then, Laura, you have founded the Founding Mothers Movement. And I know for me, life clicked into place. My purpose, my sense of belonging, my sense of belonging even in my body happened when I discovered there is a divine mother. Not that I was ever taught that. There's nothing indicated that in any of my Black Baptist upbringing. It's actually scandalous to even say it out loud in those communities. But the minute I knew that there was a reflection of me, or I'm a reflection of her, embodiment of this divine mother, my life started to make sense. My purpose started to make sense. So when I see Founding Mothers Movement, I was like, oh, being in touch with that divine feminine, being connected and in relationship, intimate relationship with the divine mother. That sounds like exquisite. So tell me more, and tell us more about the Founding Mothers Movement, how you came up with it, how it serves, how it makes a difference, and how Mother God is in that picture.
Let me start by saying, this is a meme we ran after my last book. How can women be equal on the earth plane if God is a man in the ethereal plane? So this entire shift is about getting the Godhead in balance. And we have a theory at the Oracle Institute. It's the trickle-down deity theory. The trickle-down economics of the Reagan years, that's total bullshit. But the trickle-down deity theory is true. We operate in the world based on our view of the divine, whether we're conscious of it or not. And this planet has been out of balance for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. So I truly believe that's what this shift is about. I also need to say, I'm not the only founder of the Founding Mothers Movement. This started as a collaboratory of the evolutionary leaders. I was asked to facilitate a women's collaboratory. It was the first one they'd ever done. And we proposed different projects, and Rianne Eisler proposed one, and Anahita Joon proposed one. Anyway, a few of us did. And I went last, and this white paper encapsulated everything that had come before, plus. So they all went, well, yeah. So for about 8-9 months, it was the Founding Mothers Commission. And then we launched on the 5th of July in 2024. And the entire time spent planning was crucial because and I'm going to use these terms during this interview, Team Light and Team Dark. Team Dark has been plotting and planning for, most people say, like the Reagan era, 50 years. Heck no. I highly recommend people read the book Democracy in Chains by Nancy McLean. She backs up this current cabal to the 1950s, after Brown versus Board of Education desegregated the schools. That's when the white men said, no, too much. And they plotted and planned in my home state, which really freaks me out. I didn't realize most of the planning took place in Virginia, and a lot of it still does. Anyway, we are up against, this is a conservative number. There are over 100 right-wing think tanks, alt-right think tanks. They're not even right-wing, they're alt-right. Let's say on average, there's 20 people working in each. That's 2,000 people a day who wake up every morning and plan how to make the shift go the way they want it, which means taking us backward into even more patriarchy, more privilege, more racism, more discrimination. I mean, it's just this ugly view of how humans will operate on this planet going forward. So that's what we're up against. I've spent a lot of time looking for a left-wing progressive think tank that can take the lead. I can't find one. We fancy ourselves a think tank at the Oracle Institute with our modest staff. So yeah, I've been preparing for this. I saw this 20, 25 years ago. I didn't actually think it would get here, but it's here. And this is a fight to the finish, guys. This is literally the future of this planet. When you throw in all the other existential threats, AI, the destruction of our planet, I mean, this is it. This is the time for like sitting on the sidelines is so over. So wherever you are in your journey, you're being enlisted because this is an all hands on deck moment. So the Founding Mothers specifically does have a strategic plan. We've mapped out a 2-year plan, which isn't quite long enough. But if we can accomplish what we set out for the first 2 years, we will have a serious movement. And the goal is to unify our sisters, because when we peel the onion away, what we see is the 2 keys, and there's many, many problems, right? But the 2, if we solve them, we can have a benevolent future for all humanity, and it's women's rights and war. We got a hand signal, WW. When women are at the table, decision-making changes. We know this. And if we can end war, then we have the serenity to actually plot a beautiful course for humanity. So that's why our 2 goals are empowerment of women and ending war. And I'll just stop right there.
Ooh.
So you're calling it a women's congress. So it must have a shape, platform, and foundations. And I love it because our present authoritarian political system, as it's moving in that direction, a women's congress, it feels autonomous. It feels bright. It feels brilliant. And if we hold a high vibration, Can it hold the field? Interesting. Why did you call it a Congress, and how is it organized?
Okay.
How do people
So,
make decisions?
all right, so I can't take credit for this. The first International Congress of Women met in 1878 in Paris. So just imagine how hard it was back then, right? They're getting on ships. It was in response to Julia Ward Howe's Mother's Day proclamation, which called for a Congress of Women to discuss the great and earnest topic of peace. So we're standing on the shoulders of giants, our suffragette sisters. They convened the International Congress of Women. It wasn't that frequent. Sometimes it was annually, sometimes it wasn't. But after women got the right to vote, and after they heavily influenced the remapping that took place after World War II, it just sort of went dormant. So we've picked it up. We're calling it the Global Women's Congress. We meet monthly, and thanks to technology, it's possible to bring in women from all over the world. We do have a structure. It's incredibly novel. It doesn't feel like something a man could design. It's really cool. It's based on sociocracy, which is a methodology out of Europe. It's all circles and overlapping responsibilities and domains. It's based on indigenous wisdom. It's based on feminine circle principles in the abstract. And it has both a vertical, horizontal structure to it, because we want all of the partners to feel agency, to pursue the movement in the way that feels authentic to them. But this is what's been lacking in 21st century movements. It does have a vertical axis as well. The reason most movements have failed in the 21st century is because we just went flat. It's the green meme. It's the there are no experts, there's no one better at anything than anyone else kind of ridiculous mindset that both teams possess at the moment. So the key to doing a movement is acknowledging holism. That's how the world works. That's how biology works. That's how our bodies work. And so we had multiple system scientists assist with its design. And I could pull up an image if you want me to. It's a very cool design. Do you want me to show you?
Yes. Hold on.
Okay, let me pull it up. It's easy to follow when you see it visually. Hold on, give me 1 second.
I'll make you a co-host.
Okay. And this will be fun because I'm going to show you we're getting ready to fractal as well. So it's not only holistic, it's also similar to how the universe operates. It's a fractal. So this is the Congress. At the center is the peace room, as sophisticated as a war room. That's a famous quote by Barbara Marx Hubbard, who we wanted to honor. There are 11 women in the peace room, and these animal totems represent the different sectors of society. So like the wolf is education, the whale is media and communications, the elephant is art and culture, and so forth. We're surrounded by the 5 alchemical elements. And then these are our 5 operational circles. So one of the first things we worked on was the Founding Mothers Proclamation. Julia Ward Howe issued what's known as the Mother's Day Proclamation, and we had by the 3rd Congress already drafted the Founding Mothers Proclamation. And then we have a circle for our partners who want to participate at a high level. We've got a media circle, a tech circle, and this is where we're spending lots of time right now because we're in campaign mode. We wanted to start January 1st, and we did. The green circle represents the world broken into 10 territories. So North America, Europe, Middle East, Russia. These circles haven't been activated yet, but when we fractal, they will be. And then this outer rim, these are the delegates. These little pink dots represent delegates. And we're now asking them to synergize in circles to be even more efficient, effective, and to promote brainstorming. So these darker dots mean information's flowing up, information's flowing down, sideways. And what we're envisioning next is when we fractal, there'll be a North American Congress. There'll be a South American Congress. So we're starting to map out what, once we get too large and it doesn't serve us to have, you know, maybe 1,000, 2,000 women in one Congress, we will break out. So the European circle might go first. I'm not sure, but that's our Congress.
Wow.
So it's so similar to the lens of Isis that has come through the flower of life that many women, it's like we're all marching to the same drummer now.
We are.
Overlap.
We're all getting the same downloads now.
Laura, we're all answering the same call because, you know, how it's quoted, many are called, few are chosen. It's actually many are called, few choose to answer.
They're listening.
So this call has been going out everywhere, all the time, in all times, and more people are actually choosing to answer. And it is the same message. It is the same, because there's only one that's going to save us. I'm wondering, Laura, are men involved in this movement?
Yeah.
Can they be a founding mother?
Yes, they can. All right. So this has been a topic of some discussion. And at the inception, men were already invited to come and participate in those 5 blue operational circles. So there's a lot of men involved. And then we thought, well, should we open the whole thing up? We're going to do it in stages because we know that the dynamic changes when there are men in the room. Women all of a sudden care if they've got their lipstick on, kind of stuff. And men can start getting a little bit aggressive and controlling. I mean, the studies show it. These are generalities, but they're true. So we want to make sure it remains women-led. I think the peace room will always stay female because that's like the executive team. We have an advisory board that's forming, and men are invited to that. And we're thinking that, yes, we may do male delegates next, but we're going to go in stages. We're going to go in stages just to make sure it doesn't change the vibe too much. I actually think it's going to enhance things because men typically aren't as afraid of pursuing a mission. Sometimes women are a little more because we're more self-reflective, which is a good thing. We tend to pause. Part of that is super important because we're spider web thinkers. We see the ramifications. Men typically want to get from point A to point Z as quickly as possible. Women will go, wait, there's a B, there's a C, there's a stakeholder over here, there's a ramification over here if we don't think it through. So science shows that we actually approach problem solving differently. But I think, again, balance is the key. That's what this whole shift is about. The whole shift is about balance with the genders, which will trickle into all aspects of our life and our future.
And this is helping the divine feminine grow a backbone and learn to focus and catch the deer and not worry that everybody's getting the same food and it's hot on the table, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Anahita, I want to focus on you for a moment. You were such an eloquent spokesperson the other day for the Congress, such a blessing and such a bright being. I keep saying that word, but you are bright. And I have shared your picture and countenance with other people doing global things, just so you know. How do you fit in with this? It seems like this is a collaborative effort. We're better together. But do you have a group that is coming in? Are you holding one of those seats? What is your connection and buy-in and energy? I mean, this woman's busy. You get an email saying, I'll answer your email soon. And it was
2 to 5 days.
Very beautiful. But it kind of made me say, oh, wow, this woman respects her time and people, because even that email was so polite. I love that you just sent a message, but I'm busy right now, so I'll get back.
She's also a mommy. She's also a mommy.
Oh my goodness. What age?
2 and almost 6. So they're little. Yeah, so that's part of it. Yeah, well, you know, I'm also terrible with email, so that stands to be said. That's why I CC my assistant, because then, you know, she can be my ear and she's so on top of it. So it's all of these things, like highly creative souls. I really just don't love email, but it's a necessary thing in our world. So we put the autoresponders there so people feel heard and taken care of. I love the equal human rights for women and the end to war. I love the Women's Congress. So I'm personally kind of just tracking it because I have a, large community of women, many of whom would be interested in this. I've mostly shared with my friends, my close sisters, and they're like, okay, well, when you're ready, like, throw the thing, I'm coming. So it's kind of like that, where because of like, I'm here, and Laura hopefully knows that she can count on me to come and speak and get people excited about what's going on. And then I'm sort of tracking my own capacity as a mother to young children and an entrepreneur and a teacher as to what extent can I really go in. So the next step for me is also, feeling it's kind of like what Laura's saying. Well, women are more introspective, so we lean back in a little bit. It's kind of like that. But I really want to make sure to come in because it's precious, it's meaningful, it's a high, it's like this moonshot. It's so meaningful. I want to come in and lean in from a place of just total clarity as to how I want to contribute, how I want to play, how I want to share with my community, what I want to invite them into. So I'm still in this sort of refinement process, really, and it really just helps to keep, like, literally it's with me every day. So it's not with me. I think about it. How do we share this? Oh, I'm going to do it like this, and they will come. But I'm still sort of on the side, just to be totally clear. And that's mostly a reflection of my capacity and desire to commit with my full self, as opposed to just saying something and not being able to follow through.
Ooh, if every woman took the
I love
time to do that versus people pleasing versus feeling forced or obligated, what an empowering stance that you just demonstrated. So thank you so much, Anahita, for just embodying, no, I can do more and offer more when I'm clearly in oneness and alignment. So
Oh,
thank you
I
for that.
hear.
And if you
Yeah,
could just
thank you.
add, when you say bring yourself, are you bringing She School? What is She School? What is coming with you when you come?
Yeah, well, it would be an invitation, right? She School is a global online and in-person education platform for merging the divine feminine with the leadership of women. So those are the programs that we've been offering for the last 12 years and supporting women to, bring the divine feminine into government agencies, NGOs, religious organizations, universities, everywhere, corporate, pharmaceutical companies. Pharmaceutical companies that have my clients in their leading meditation groups. It happens. These women are holding these torches everywhere that people aren't necessarily aware of. So yeah, when I say that, it's the putting out the call and really communicating. I want to be clear and communicate with my own clarity what the Founding Mothers movement is, what it means to me, what the Women's Congress is, and what the invitation is. So as I get that clarity, which, like I said, I'm kind of in the washing machine with every day, then there would be an invitation to the She School community to say, this is what I'm looking at. This is what I'm doing. How do you want to participate? This is a volunteer, sacred activism kind of thing. How do you want to play? So the first, which is probably going to be more immediate, as I've already been talking, are my girlfriends, because it comes up in conversation. So then it's like, oh, I want to hear more. Tell me more. So there's that, and then the larger community is for me to be really clear. Yeah, and I think if I am to be honest, something that I'm still working out within myself is language that I may experience in my body to be somewhat divisive, because who I am, having lived through what I lived through, it's really important that I can communicate it in a way that says, this isn't dedicated to oneness. This is like, I don't care what your political affiliation has been. If you are aligned with universal human rights for women and the end to war, I want you to feel safe. I want you to feel safe to come and hold that light, release everything else, hold that light. Because I even get chills as I say that, because we know that if we just have those two things, I mean, so I don't want to get caught up in that other stuff, and I don't want to alienate anyone. And I'm also just really clear that, you know, for me personally and my family and the kids being exposed to me, it's really important to keep maintaining a vibration of unity. And that means that I don't get the bait, you know, and it doesn't mean I don't have the moments, right? Saying to my husband, what's this they're doing? What is this? How am I supposed to feel about this? But then it's like, okay, but I know what I'm committed to. Okay, I'm committed to being able to relate to this from a place of unity and wholeness within myself. So that's the dance that I'm in. I really want to be able to talk about it and bring people in, you know, that they feel seen and welcomed and not judged, because they align with the core mission. Because I know spiritual women, I know deeply spiritual women who voted for the current, you know, what do you call them? The people. You know, and so, and I've seen them swing. I've seen people that cried the first time be excited the second time, you know. I've seen the whole thing. And so I know who these women are at the end of the day, you know. So it's like, I don't want to alienate them. Because I know they stand for women, and regardless of what it looks like, you know. There's all these conversations that I have with my really close sisters where it's safe enough to have different opposing views, you know, of how can you vote in that way if you're a stand for women, and to have those real honest conversations with each other. So I value that. I want to make sure that we're all sitting at that, you know, in that Congress together, holding that one light, because I mean, I think that's the most beautiful part, to have that moonshot, Laura, you know, to claim something so astonishingly big, you know, as the mission. That is the part that inspires me the most. And not to say that, you know, we don't need to be warriors, but just the oneness. Yeah.
What you're speaking to is discernment. And if we all come to our own inner clarity and then authentically join in, it adds to the whole. And as you said, we can't do everything. You are keeping your own mobile balance for your life, your children, your work. So you show up in the way that enhances the whole without taking from your mobile. And it is important for us to all see each other in the spotlight for the puzzle piece that we bring. And so I'll just say, because I have both of you here, I'm an expert. I have a PhD in removing fear from the body of the spiritually awakening woman to say the truth, so that it lands and disarms everyone, and they breathe and say, well, thank God, mom's here. The truth is here. Everybody relaxes. So that's the part that I'm bringing with the Becoming Queen coaching program as well. So I said that because we need to see each other. That's my piece. And we are bringing these pieces together. So Laura, you have a lot of work ahead of you, and it's ongoing. I was reflecting this morning. She gets up in the morning. She has a job. There's no retiring, because we are getting energized now and moving out. I don't like to use the word army, but we are galvanizing totally. Do you say campaigns? Do you have some campaigns coming up? What is next? What are you focused on next for the group? And then I'm opening this up to the group. What should the person who's witnessing all of the chaotic dissonance of the disruptor and disruptives coming in and burning down what is, maybe your campaigns will have an answer for us to swoop in and build something that can be. So that's a lot I just said. Start with campaign.
Okay, so actually what Anahita helped us with was the launch of our first campaign. It's called the Weekly Worldwide Wake Up. It takes place every Wednesday at noon in every time zone. And it's a play on the famous activist and Congressman John Lewis's mantra, make good trouble. Well, we say go outside and make good noise for 5 minutes at noon. For those of you who are old enough to remember that movie Network, there's a scene where the guy opens the window and he yells, what does he say? I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore. And then people start yelling. So it's meant to wake people up. Your neighbors are going to go, what are you doing? Why are you making noise every Wednesday at noon? and you can explain why. It's for planetary partnership and peace. We ran this through our AI. Her name is Violet, and she loved it. So please, everyone listening, every Wednesday, go outside at noon in your time zone and make some good noise. And that could be anything from singing to playing an instrument. Kids can play bird whistles. So it was a gentle start to our campaigns. Our next campaign is going to be on International Women's Day, which is coming up. That's March 8th. I'm going to now talk about something exceedingly serious that most people don't know about, just like learning about Project 2025 way before it became mainstream. There is an international declaration called, you ready? The Geneva Consensus. They titled it that to be purposely, like the first 5 times I heard, I went, what, Geneva Conventions? What does that have to do with women? No, it's the Geneva Consensus. It was drafted by Mike Pompeo during Trump 1.0. The reason no one heard of it is because Biden killed it immediately upon taking office, but it's been floating for the last 4 years and 34 nations have signed on. And what it describes is the Handmaid's Tale.
What?
Okay, they want to put us in the Handmaid's Tale timeline. So the Geneva Consensus is a global declaration that women should start just, cooking and making babies again. So the guise of it is female health, but it's completely not about us. And many organizations, Doctors Without Borders, women's health organizations already have come out against it. So you haven't heard of it yet. You might be hearing about it for the first time right now. Trump signed it on January 24th. So back to our campaign. Our campaign for March 8th is highlighting the Geneva Consensus so that women know what they want to do with us, and juxtaposing that to the Founding Mothers Proclamation. So they're, again, Team Light's version of the future for women and Team Dark's version of the future for women. And I want to say something about polarity because I so hear you, Anahita. So here's the issue. We live in our worldview, which is a state of unity consciousness. That is the goal. That is why Founding Mothers was created. But here's the problem. We are dealing with people who have no idea what that means. They have no idea. It's like, maybe not as bad as trying to teach a horse algebra, but when you study spiral dynamics, and I pump this whenever I can, it's Maslow on steroids. It's a model that's going to be exceedingly helpful for a global movement. When you study spiral dynamics, there are, roughly 9, 10 worldviews out there. And it's only at stage 6 and up that a unity consciousness exists. They view the world, us and them. It's not the world we want. The danger here is, though, that if we don't face the reality that that's how they see the world, we're not even in the same battle. We're not even on the same game board. So when you hear me using dualistic language, it's because we need to acknowledge that on this planet, we have not achieved a unity consciousness yet. Our species has not. And of course, that's the goal. And the reason for the Congress and the Founding Mothers movement is, how do we do that? How do we make a touchdown for Team Light? But which means everyone, not just Team Light. Like, if we're able to create a future in which this becomes the normal way of operating, a field of love, a field of compassion, a field of nurturing, a field of all that we hold dear, it's a win for everyone. If the paradigm shift goes the other way, it's a nightmare for everyone. So when you hear me using dualistic terms, I'm doing that because we need to understand the law of polarity. We need to understand how polarity works. And there are ways of surmounting it, going around it, using it itself, using the dark for the light. Like, it's at a metaphysical level, it's a very high skill set, and I'm not claiming I've perfected it, But that's why we have the Congress, so that all of us can contribute our ideas on how to do this. It's a huge mission. And we need you, Anahita. One last thing, we don't have enough women in your age bracket involved.
I know that's why I'm sharing with my friends. Yeah, absolutely. And
Need young-
I think even as I hear you speak, Laura, is kind of, I'm thinking, well, maybe that's why I get to be in the Congress, because of course I understand what you're saying about polarity and, the Ecstatic Leadership Institute. All of it is about providing the tools and resources for us to lead and source from the center point of where opposites merge, where light and dark merge, where the
Yes.
opposing forces come together. That's the ecstasy, is the union. So I'm aware, but I think for me, the language of they and them feels divisive in my body. And I can't help to say that if it lands that way for me, it has to land that way for other people. So I'm listening to you and I'm thinking, well, how would it not feel this way? How could we speak to the journey that we still get to travel to create what we desire and what we know is possible and what we're here for, without kind of this? And so for me, it's like acknowledging the pain. It's like the pain that is expressing right now, the pain that's creating more pain. To me, that feels me speaking from my power as creator. If I refer to it as pain that's creating more pain, for me personally, and this is for me, and this is your vision, so mad respect, when we use the word they, to me, I'm out. I'm out as creator, and now I am just pushing against something, as opposed to going in from the inside and like standing inside of it and saying this pain that is a reflection of my pain and our collective pain is expressing and wreaking havoc. And how do we, like, let's unite? It's like, if we can talk about pain and love versus us and them, light and dark, I find that to be so much more unifying in my own body as one who has lived through war and, oppression and all of that. So it's just really that, like, it's refinement. It's not, I'm just really feeling that in myself, because as you were saying, I'm like, well, International Women's Day, that could be a good day to invite the community, to come on in. So I'm tracking it. And Jan, what you were saying earlier too, it's that, I know that when I find my aligned yes, I am so evangelical. People come, so it's just like finding that aligned yes. And then I know that I can magnetize. And so that's the journey. And I appreciate being able to, talk about it in this way together. Yeah.
Well,
can I just add, it's tricky stuff. We're talking about social alchemy, right? It's tricky stuff. And when you look at the vocabulary, even just basic word choice that different memes use. My favorite example is what Kamala Harris, her tagline was, "When we fight, we win." It's only the green meme and up that goes, "Ooh, fight, ooh." So I would invite you to the media circle. That's where I think you belong, Anahita, because yes, we've got to find a way to message that reaches as many of these worldviews as possible and appeals to their highest ability, their highest nature, because all of these memes have a glorious upside and all of them have a dark shadow side. So it's not like all of a sudden you're conscious or more conscious and you drop shadow. Oh no. So because you're such a bright light, I actually think that's where you would be the most helpful in the Founding Mothers movement, is helping us message. Yeah.
I'm into that.
It's time to wrap up.
Oh, already.
Yes, it's been a beautiful hour. But there's something that just is sticking with me. And I'm hearing both of you present who you are and who you have been and who you are committed to being for women and for peace and for the elevation of the divine feminine. But I'm hearing you talk to each other. I'm not hearing you talk to our audience. If you can briefly say why they should be in this conversation, why should they be listening to you? Because this has been a very much you two talking to each other and an invitation for Anahita. But is there an invitation for our listeners? Is there something for us that we can participate in, gather in, learn from both of you, from both of your movements, because they're very different. I'm just very curious about that. And if it's not, thank you for sharing who you are. It doesn't have to be.
Well, I'll say it because it's right on my heart. You know, I think that the opportunity is to experience how powerful we are to create what we want. That's the invitation. The invitation is get in the conversation, feel how it feels in your body, get aligned with what's important to you. You know, feel my little boy is knocking on the door.
Aw.
Multitasking.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's the thing, to know our values. If the end to war and global universal rights for women resonate for you, then you know what, why would you not be playing? I mean, why do we think we're on this planet at this time? And I know everyone has busy lives like we've been talking about. I'm a mommy, I have all these things, I have all these clients, I have all these students, all the things, you know, parents are getting older, all of it. And yet we get to be in the conversation because we came here to remember how powerful we are. There's this course that I teach, and right now we're in the queen archetype, and the queen's mantra is my power is love and love is my power. My power is love and love is my power. And so it's like, it's that we came here to embody that. And if you believe that, then, you know, hopefully you get in the conversation and check in with Founding Mothers Movement and the Women's Congress and see what your role is.
And I would add that we all have a stake in what happens next. I have 3 children and I have three grandchildren. I do this for them. I do this for my sisters globally. And so the invitation is to participate, if not in Founding Mothers Movement, in a movement that resonates with you so that you are in action mode. The reason I think Founding Mothers Movement is worthwhile is because the women already involved are exceedingly gifted. There are all sorts of women involved at this point, and women from all over the world. We've got delegates in India and Pakistan, for instance. The diversity is going to be the strength. Finding the unity and diversity is going to be the strength of the movement. It's also going to be the challenge, and we talked about some of those issues today. The reason that the alt-right doesn't encounter these same issues is because it is based on a military mentality. It's based on a hierarchical view of life. When we offer one another complete respect and autonomy and recognize the creator in each one of us, it actually makes it harder to align. It does. And so, you know, there are jokes about the New Age movement, you know, like herding cats. The reason for that is once you get to a certain level of self-autonomy and agency and consciousness, you are the queen, you are that archetype, you are the creator, you are the initiator. And when we can come together recognizing that each of us has those superpowers, there's just no doubt. There's no doubt. Founding Mothers Movement is going to shift the paradigm in the right direction. So ladies, gents who are listening, come on board, please. We need you. We love you. And every voice is heard at the Founding Mothers Movement.
Thank you so much.
And you activated the word superpowers. I'm a scientist by nature. I'm a nurse. And so even though I do light worker, sometimes I shudder at the words. We are speaking about raising the bar of vibration for the planet towards co-creation, communication, inclusivity, collaboration, all the C's. And it's been mightily overdue. So we ourselves, if we take all this chaos and come to our own 0 point of coherence, our vibrational state will have It's just like the scientists say the butterfly in Taiwan affects us. We have the wattage to change things. And there might be people doing things, doing coup, putting the government in a blender and telling us to drink it. We're not drinking it. We are creating a new stellar, brilliant option with solutions for sustainability and benevolent outcomes for humans because we can. If you enter over a state of 732, you can morph time and space. They've showed people meditating can lower crime. There's your consistency, your perseverance, and now more connection and collegialism. Is that a word, Spirit? And believe me, we are guided by Spirit. They have me say words I don't even know if they are, and I have to laugh later. So I want Anasuya to have the last word here because she's just so fabulous.
I'm not sure about it. Okay. I'm so grateful for this opportunity to get to know two beautiful, loving souls who are powerhouses, who have led for you, Anahita, 12 years, and Laura, many more years committed to women waking up to our innate power. More importantly, our innate divinity. And what do we do with that power? What do we do with that divinity? Yes, we finally recognize that it's true that we are it, she is us. But what do we do with that power? And I love that you both are offering paths for women to say, this is the way forward for me. This is the way forward for me. And there are millions of them. And the key is that women find their path and have the courage to like, okay, I thought this was it. It was it for a while. Now I need something else. And have the courage to switch gears and change and get on other paths, all getting clearer as they evolve. They are getting in resonance and coherence with what meets their evolution. So thank you so much for both for being here. I look forward to doing deep dives on your websites and doing deep dives into what you're offering and to participate in a way. So I'm glad to know that I am welcome to participate in these activities. And thank you so much for sharing your hearts today because we need pure.
Blessings and appreciation. And it's really just the beginning of the bigger work. Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you for being our guest on She Said Duh.
Women and men around the world are celebrating the birth of the Founding Mothers movement to secure universal rights for all women and to end war. Simply put, we've had enough of patriarchy and privilege. We will no longer tolerate family violence, sexual assault, child marriage, girls who can't go to school or let their hair down, men depriving us of reproductive freedom, or sacrilege against Mother Earth. The military-industrial complex trains men to kill on command. They're also weaponizing AI. Soldiers rape women as a staple of war, and surviving women and children are left homeless. The founding fathers of every nation have brought us to where we are. Now, the founding mothers are joining together to lead us into an era of partnership and peace, a future that works for everyone. We're a global coalition, uniting women's groups, peace organizations, spiritual communities, and environmental groups. We're taking action to shed archaic belief systems, transform barbaric behaviors, eradicate misogyny and racism, and protect democracy. Instead of a war room, we're building a peace room. And we're spreading truth, love, and light. We serve as diplomats and peace negotiators, business leaders, elected officials, caregivers, and wisdom keepers. And we've got a concrete plan to grow this into the mother of all movements. First, we wish to honor the Mother's Day proclamation written by Julia Ward Howe. Mother's Day was not created for gift cards and chocolates. It was a call to action for an international Congress of Women to pursue the great and general interest of peace. Second, we're reimagining the Women's Congress. It will network thousands of women's groups around the world. Third, in addition to unifying our sisters around the world, we're inviting our brothers to join us. Stakeholders who lead peace, spiritual, and environmental groups. Just imagine our united strength when we, the people, organize. We'll move mountains if we focus on two specific goals: partnership and peace. Please join the Founding Mothers movement today. If you lead a women's organization, register for our online Women's Congress and help compose the Founding Mothers Manifesto. If you lead a peace, spiritual, or environmental group, enroll your organization in the coalition and help transition humanity from patriarchy to partnership. And if you're an individual who understands that our future is at stake, sign up for our mailing list, donate, volunteer your skill set, and be ready for a series of escalating campaigns starting on January the 1st, 2025. Join the Founding Mothers movement and help transform the world.